Calling this meeting of the Cleveland Heights City Council to order. Clerk Ballister, please call the roll.
Cobb.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Posh.
Here.
DeWitt Foy.
Here.
Cohen.
Here.
Kuda.
Here.
Thank you. We have no members to excuse. We have no amendments to the agenda. Approval of minutes from previous meetings. We were given the minutes from December 1st, 2025 and December 15th, 2025. Clerk Ballister did all that work to put them together. Is any comments on them?
The only question I have is perhaps for the law director, if we're voting on them, since I was not here, does Councilman DeWitt Foy and I not vote on them? Does that matter?
It doesn't. If you have reason to believe that the process for generating the minutes and the clerk are reliable and produce accurate minutes, you can vote for them.
Okay, thank you.
So we've taken a vote in the past, or we just ask for consensus? Director Hannah.
Your normal method is just fine.
Okay. Seeing no other comments on the minutes, we're going to post them as approved by the council. Mayoral proclamations.
Thank you, Councilwoman Larson. Let me. So this evening, we are going to recognize Brian, who was a community leader here in Cleveland Heights for many years. And I'd like to first congratulate him on passing the baton to a new owner and being able to start a new chapter in his life. So this evening, we have a proclamation for Brian's Marathon. So whereas here on Lee Road, where the bell over the door knows everyone's name, we proclaim that service still breathes. A man asks for air, not the kind you pray for, the kind that keeps you rolling. And the answer comes back grinning. I'm breathing, aren't I? Because humor is part of the tune-up and kindness is always included. This place runs on more than gas. It runs on memory, on hands that learned engines at 14 and never forgot how to help. On short sleeves in winter, coffee at dawn, and a hose slipped under a garage door because someone needed it. We proclaim a shop where full service means filling the tank, checking the tires, watching the kids cross the street, and selling Girl Scout cookies like they matter, because they do. Here, honesty has greasy under its nails. Trust smells faintly of coffee and rubber. No one is sold what they don't need. Payment can wait. Names are remembered. Salaries are kept. We proclaim a brotherly teasing, a door held open, a jab to the stomach, a life exchanged like exact change. A 92 Ford Ranger gets listened to, a stranger gets time, a regular gets everything. This station does not sell escape, no beer, no lottery dreams, only the steady belief that people will come back if you care. We proclaim teenagers washing cars for their futures, learning that work has dignity. We proclaim a man tossing his own keys across the counter because someone else is stranded. We proclaim patience. We proclaim church greetings shouted across a counter stacked with candy and nobody notices because what's really for sale is service. Let it be known in Cleveland Heights, in a modest building with model cars on the shelves, there exists a place where community is repaired daily, where trust is extended like credit, where air is always available if you just ask. This is not a business alone. This is a living thing. And as long as Brian is breathing, so is it. Now, therefore, I, Jim Petrus, Mayor of the City of Cleveland Heights, extend the city's heartfelt congratulations to Brian. Thank you.
I just want to say, I want to thank the city for honoring me and the years of dedication to me. Thank you.
Communications from the mayor.
Thank you, Council Vice President Larson. I'd like to first request permission to bid project 2601, our 2026 road program. I'm sorry. Yes.
Can you expand on what that, is that for all resurfacing projects?
For the 2026 road resurfacing program. So I'm very grateful that council more than doubled the funding for this year. At the beginning of the year, before going out to bid, the Public Works Director would receive permission from council by motion to go out. So last year, I think that we paved around 11 roads, and this year we're looking at about 21.
Thank you. I'll take a motion from somebody, please.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those,
Oh, I probably can't ask a question now of the mayor at this point, but that's okay. It's not germane to my vote. It's just a point of
Oh, yeah.
information. When and how are the 21 roads going to be determined? Which ones those are?
The Public Works Director has already determined them, and she has roads in mind for future years as well. So there was a LiDAR assessment of the roads to accurately gauge the quality of all of the roads, and she has been prioritizing them based upon the number of cars that traffic them as well as the quality of them.
all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Also, I'd like to remind people that tomorrow is a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new composting site at the Noble Road Library. I'd like to thank our sustainability coordinator, Andy Boateng, for working to make this happen. So the event is tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. at the Noble Library. Also, in case you have not heard, Cleveland Heights' very own Layla Edwards is in the gold medal round for women's hockey. So she and Team USA will be competing against Canada on Thursday. So we are having a watch party here at the community center. The game starts at 1:10, so stop by around 1 if you can and help cheer on Layla. Also, this Saturday is our city's Black History Month celebration. As I previously shared, very grateful that University Heights is co-sponsoring that event this year. They have generously provided $5,000 to support that event. So the event is from noon until 5. Folks may remember that because of the weather, we canceled the MLK Junior awards that we would typically present to students. And so that will be presented on Saturday as well. So as a reminder, that is noon until 5. I'd also like to share for the public that earlier this evening at 5 p.m., there was a confirmation hearing for D. Weber, who I nominated to become our HR director. Very grateful to council for agreeing to schedule that earlier today, and there will be a vote in the near future. And with that, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Next, we have a report from City Administrator Reese.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Vice President Larson, President Kuda, members of council. Thank you for having me here this evening. So I moved here 13 days ago, and one of my movers, who's a resident of Cleveland Heights, asked me what I do for work, and so I told him. And then he proceeded to give me tips on snow removal efforts. So I listened intently on that. But I'm beginning my second week. Everyone has been so welcoming. I want to thank everyone for their smiles and willing to do whatever to ease this transition. I love living in Cleveland Heights, and I'm very excited about the work going forward and working with members of council and all the city workers and the administration. Just to give you a little bit about what I've been doing in my first 13 days before I started and since I've started. The Friday before I started work, I toured the community center, and I actually saw President Kuda getting ready to play catch with a baseball to get his arm in shape. And I also met with Sharon Dumas on that Friday to get her advice. I attended the Olympic watch party at the community center for the U.S. women's hockey team On the Saturday before I started, I got to talk with council members, city staff, and members of the community. That was a great event. I toured Lower Lake this past weekend. And so far, I've patronized 7 total restaurants, cafes, and bakeries in Cleveland Heights. But I'm focused on building relationships with Mayor Petras, departments, that's chiefs, directors, and staff, council members. I look forward to meeting with each of you in the coming days and weeks. Clerk of Council, Addie Ballister, and the community. I have met Lee Chilcott with Future Homes, John Barber with Friends of Lower Lake, and representatives from the Nature Center at Shaker Lakes and Cleveland Metro Parks, and Matt Carroll, my peer in Shaker Heights. And he and I are scheduled to get together next week. Mayor Petras and I are spending a lot of time together, which is important to managing the city, running the day-to-day operations, responding to the community, and working with council. My first day, I attended a number of council committees, the Community Relations and Recreation Committee, the Planning and Development Committee, Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability Committee, and Special Committee of the Whole. Last week, I reviewed department biweekly reports. I attended the first of many chiefs and directors meeting, a biweekly meeting that I will run going forward. Attended Public Works Executive Staff meeting, participated in Human Resources Director interviews, and held some one-on-one with chiefs and directors to get to know them and for them to get to know me. I look forward to meeting with more directors, touring department facilities, and learning more about city operations in the coming days and weeks. I'm touring the Public Works facilities and Severance this week, so I look forward to that. I've sat in a few meetings involving Mayor Petras and individual council members, and am participating in the weekly council leadership meetings. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I want to follow up on what I talked about when you had your confirmation hearing, is I have some index cards I'm going to give you here. Please write down a couple names, maybe 3 names, and phone numbers of people you think it would be helpful for me to meet with in my first several months. This won't happen, obviously, in the first, I'll get done on the first month, but I'll begin this as soon as possible. And if you want to bring these when we meet individually, that'd be great, or whenever you have time. So I look forward to working with council. I'm very open to any suggestions you may have. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, and welcome again.
Okay.
You're going to pass out your index card?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have departmental reports, and Director Joseph Brodzinski, our Finance Director, is up at the podium.
Thank you, Councilwoman. As you all will know, I just started my second week here. Glad to be here. Since I've started, I've got to meet all my staff to see exactly what each of them do. I've met with several different departments to see where we could collaborate, where finance could help them become more efficient in the processes that they do. I've been actively looking at the 26 budget, and I'm going to start comparing the various line items to the 24 and 25 budget to see where there's been changes and why there's been changes. Been reviewing the whole capital budget. And I've also set up meetings with finance's outside vendors to get to know them, how long they've been working with the city in the finance department. And they're going to be coming in later this week and some for next week. And so far, that's basically what I've done. All right, thank you. Thank you.
And the other department report is Parks and Recreation Department. Third departmental report is from Suzanne Conway, Kane Park Manager.
Hello. There's a trend going. It is my 3rd week.
Oh, you're a senior.
Yes. But But it's a repeat performance for me. I started at Kane Park in 1999 and was here for 8 consecutive seasons. The last 3, I was full-time, and had a realization a few years ago that every job I'd had since was chasing Kane Park and how much I loved working there. And so being back is a dream and has been wonderful. Living in Cleveland Heights is incredible as well. And I appreciate everybody's patience while I figure out what's what, and while I get through the mountain of people I need to meet with, and while we're doing contracts right now. But we have some really good news. We have several confirmed shows, quite a few confirmed shows. 2 are already on sale. We have Joe Russo's Almost Dead, which went on sale 2 weeks ago, and sold about $90,000 just in its first day. We're really close to being sold out on that show alone. Then last week we went on sale with the String Cheese Incident, which will be August 11th, and that's selling well as well. And then next week we've got Trombone Shorty going on sale. So we've got a lot of great things coming down, and we're still working on some other deals. I'm really thankful to Colleen Miller for really getting us going on this season, so that it wasn't, so that we actually had a season. So it's going to be a good one. We're going to be very hard working at getting seasonal staff over the next few weeks, meeting with a lot of community members and people who have a stake in Kane Park. And, and for me, it's a lot of putting together processes and procedures so that we're doing things the right way and being fiscally responsible and, taking Kane Park to new levels of greatness. So that's pretty much it.
Welcome to you.
Thank you.
All right, going to move on to the report of the Clerk of Council.
Nothing to report.
Next, we have public comment on legislative agenda items only.
I do not have comment on legislative agenda items.
Okay. Then we're going to move on to legislation. Clerk Ballister, take it away.
I have ordinance number 034-2026 on first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the sale of 3 improved parcels of residential real property located within the city to the Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corporation, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Petrus.
Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 035-2026 on first reading. A resolution authorizing an agreement with Chagrin Valley Dispatch for the purchase of in-car and portable radios for 9 2025 Ford Utility Hybrid Police Interceptors for the police department, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Petrus.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. I also want to iterate that we've just had discussion about these pieces of legislation during committee of the whole. So what you're seeing here is council's opportunity to vote on these pieces of legislation. Hearing no discussion required, I would ask for all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 036-2026 on first reading. A resolution authorizing an amendment to existing agreement with ADP Inc. for payroll processing services for the city's finance department, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Petrus.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Was there any discussion about this going for second reading, or is this all right to go?
It's up to you guys.
Are we all right with letting it go for vote tonight, or do we want to have a second reading? Any comment?
I'm okay if we go with this.
I think he said he's fine with going with it, as am I.
Okay. All right.
Same.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
All right, moving on to first readings only. I have resolution number 037-2026 on first reading. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Best Equipment Co. for the acquisition of a Peterson TL3 Lightning Loader, aka Claw Truck, for the refuse division of the Department of Public Works, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Petrus.
And this is a budgeted item, so that will be second reading next meeting.
And I have resolution number 038-2026 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Urban SDK for the provision of geospatial AI solutions and roadway data in support of the city's safety planning and operational analysis initiatives, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Petrus. And I believe you were going to refer this one.
Say that again.
I think you were going to refer this one to committee.
Yes, I did refer this one to the Public Safety and Health Committee. Councillor Posh will be discussing this at his February 23rd meeting, so it will get discussed at that meeting. Second readings, please.
I have resolution number 028-2026 on second reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Green Home Solutions LLC, a certified lead abatement contractor, for the use of Lead Safe Ohio grant funds in connection with the abatement of lead-based paint hazards at the home located upon permanent parcel number 684-01-117, providing compensation therefore and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Petrus.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 032-2025 on second reading, a resolution providing for a contribution in support of the Heights Schools Foundation's Fitness Under the Lights event and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Petrus.
All right. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Clerk Ballister, do you read both consent agendas? Or
Yes, I'll read both of
pieces?
them.
Okay, go ahead.
I have resolution number 039-2025 on first reading, a resolution recognizing March 2026 as Red Cross Month in the city of Cleveland Heights and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by all city council members. I also have resolution number 040-2026 on first reading, a resolution recognizing March 2026 as Women's History Month and March 8th, 2026 as International Women's Day and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by all city council members.
I do need a motion to suspend the rules for the consent agenda.
So moved.
And a second.
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor of suspending the rules?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Discussion? All righty then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. It completes legislation. Now we have committee reports. Anybody on the screen or here that has a committee report?
I do, Vice President.
Go ahead, Councillor Posh.
So on Monday, the 23rd, there's two committee reports. There's two council committees I'll be chairing. At 6 o'clock, we have the Finance Committee. And at 7 o'clock, we have the Public Safety and Health Committee. There's two major agenda items for the 7 o'clock meeting. One is traffic safety, and the other one is a series of nonprofits will be joining us to talk about resident immigration rights and what we can do with residents. And Councilmember Cohen was going to lead that part and has got a whole bunch of people lined up to join us.
Just if that's my invitation to share who, we're going to have representatives from Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, AMI, which is a nonprofit that supports immigrants. We are waiting on confirmation of one more nonprofit and perhaps an additional guest. But the goal is to share this information with residents, and the committee meetings are of course recorded. And so that'll be available on YouTube if residents want to reference that. And I believe we're working with the communications department to put at least links to these organizations on our resources page for the website. So that will be, and thank you to Councilman Posh for allowing us to be part of the agenda.
No, not seeing any other hands raised. I'm going to make my, go ahead.
For planning and, well, segue into Planning and Development Committee.
Multiple hats.
Yes. So quick update, just for those who don't watch council committee meetings on YouTube, the Planning and Development Committee meeting met last Monday. We reviewed the Planning Department's comprehensive 2026 work plan, and we level set as council on major initiatives. The centerpiece of our discussion was the comprehensive zoning code update being led by our consultant ZoneCo. We discussed pursuing a phased approach to legislation as we consider those zoning code updates, and also tackle more to allow us to tackle both straightforward issues as well as more complex issues like ADUs. It will be interesting. The planning department's looking to use interactive story maps instead of regular websites to ensure our residents are educated and included at every step of this process. Also at that meeting regarding severance, it was shared that the administration has engaged consultant Avison Young to review the proposed zoning overlay to ensure its appropriateness for the Cleveland Heights community. And we look forward to continuing to hear updates from that relationship with Avison Young. And then also important for residents is that the planning department launched a multi-tiered strategy to tackle the city's 144 vacant lots and remaining homes. A request for qualifications was issued to create a pre-qualified pool of professional builders and rehabbers. This is a distinct process designed especially for developers and rehabbers, and it will be followed by an RFP. Again, this has nothing to do with individual residents, but there will be a different RFP, request for proposals, from individual residents who wish to build an owner-occupied home for themselves or an immediate family member. So that will be upcoming. I presume it will be announced once it's available. And residents should know that they don't need to respond to the professional developer request for qualifications. The next meeting is March 9th at 5 p.m. And that is a change. We're at 5 p.m. and not 6 p.m. And we expect to discuss the severance timeline, potentially ADUs, potentially Landmark Commission, and a few other items that we have brewing. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Anything? Oh, go ahead.
I'll be brief. I have a committee meeting scheduled for this Monday at 5 p.m. We'll be discussing filling the vacancy on the Transportation and Mobility Committee. So there is still time to get an application in if you want to be considered for that. We have one vacancy. And also, I was recently made aware that we have 2 vacancies on our Recreation Board. If you previously applied for the Recreation Board within the last year, it's not necessary for you to reapply. We'll consider those applications. I believe I have 2 from last year. So if you're interested in serving, please try and get an application into us by Monday morning. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability Committee met February 9th. Public Works Director Clinkscale updated us on the commitment of the city to remove all remaining loose leaves from our tree lawns when the snow is gone. It's almost there. She also shared information about the Cleveland Heights utility homestead discounts, which are available to property owners, qualified property owners, to make the billing payments, quarterly billings from the city more affordable for those who qualified for either the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District or for the Cleveland Water homestead discount. If anyone would like help with the applications, they're welcome to call the Public Works Department. And if you want information, feel free to contact me as well. The committee also heard from Climate and Environmental Sustainability Committee member John Barber. He shared the annual report with the council members who were present on the work that his committee did in 2025, and a brief introduction to what they're going to be doing in 2026. Next meeting of the Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability Committee is March 9th at 7 p.m. So that being all the committee reports, we're going to proceed to old business. New business.
Yes, I have
Go ahead.
Perhaps I can go first.
So that's fine.
So I'd like to, I guess, officially make a motion that we move our March 2nd meeting from the evening of March 2nd to March 3rd to avoid a conflict with the Jewish holiday of Purim. I've checked the calendar for the rest of the year. This should be the only conflict that we have. I think maybe not for committee meetings, but for actual council meetings. So it would be wonderful if we could make that change.
All right, can I get a motion on that, please? Or you already motioned, I need a second.
That.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. All right, any more new business? Councilor Cobb.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to appoint Sarah Stone to fill the vacancy on City Council, the vacancy arising from the election of Jim Petrus for mayor.
Can I get a second? Need a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion. Go ahead.
Shall I start since I
Yes,
made
please.
the motion?
Yes.
First, I would like to encourage everyone to read her application and resume that has been posted. If I might, just a brief highlights. She's a 10-year resident of Cleveland Heights, a graduate of Smith College with a bachelor's degree and also a master's degree. She was magna cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa there. She retired in 2022 from the 5 colleges of Ohio, where she was the executive director, and the 5 colleges of Ohio is a consortium which manages the joint academic library and business affairs of Denison University, Kenyon College, Oberlin College, Ohio Wesleyan College, and the College of Worcester, colleges with combined budgets of over $800 million. Before that, she was at Kenyon College, where she served as the director of the Kenyon Institute and a senior advisor to the college president for strategic initiatives. And she was also a vice president for college relations there. Also going back a little further into her history, she was at Kappa, a nationally acclaimed nonprofit arts and entertainment presenter and owner-manager of historic theaters in Columbus, Chicago, and New Haven. While there, she served as a number of titles: interim president, vice president for advancement, and director of advancement. In those roles, she was responsible for planning and directing all aspects of Kappa, including revenue generation, operating campaigns, capital campaigns, benefit events, et cetera, et cetera. And her job history also includes serving at the Columbus Museum of Art, and where she was a grants coordinator, and she was also director of development for the Columbus Opera. Following her retirement in 2022, she served as the clerk of session at Fairmont Presbyterian Church, where she essentially led the church board. She was also an elder there. If I could just have another couple minutes. I understand that if Ms. Stone is appointed, it will generate some strong feelings regarding the importance of racial diversity on this council. That concern is legitimate. Representation matters because a governing body benefits from the perspectives and lived experiences of people from different backgrounds, and our city benefits when its leadership reflects the diversity of its residents. At the same time, our responsibility as council members is to make appointments based on fair, consistent, and transparent evaluation of qualifications and readiness to serve. That responsibility requires us to evaluate every candidate using the same standards and criteria focused on experience, credentials, leadership ability, and demonstrated readiness to govern effectively from the day of their appointment. Our open application process to fill a council appointment would be a sham and a disservice to this city if it was controlled by a predetermined outcome driven by identity. In this instance, following a fair, thorough, and merit-based evaluation of every applicant, Sarah Stone emerged by a margin that, in my opinion, was impossible to ignore as the most overall qualified applicant. She displayed an exceptional level of preparation for her interview, extensive experience relevant to the nuances of government, subject matter knowledge of city operations and policies, and a proven track record of leadership and results in her past endeavors. When measured against the responsibilities of this office, which involves legislative decision-making, budget oversight, collaboration with city staff, and representation of various constituents with competing interests, her qualifications stood out clearly. During my time on council, I have participated in interviewing over 36 residents seeking appointment to city council at various times. Sarah Stone was by far the most impressive candidate that I have been in an interview with. In my opinion, her background, accomplishments, and credentials meet or exceed those of anyone currently serving on the city council. I believe that Ms. Stone will understand the concerns that are going to be raised about her appointment. However, I firmly believe she is committed to serving every resident of this city, regardless of race, religion, background, or neighborhood, and to listening actively to voices that may not always feel heard. Her responsibility and ours is to represent the entire community, and I am sure she is prepared to do exactly that. If appointed, our decision is not a dismissal of the importance of diversity, nor is it a judgment about the value or potential of any other applicant. It was a determination based on qualifications, readiness, and the specific demands facing council in the city at this time. I understand that reasonable people may disagree with this decision. That is to be expected in Cleveland Heights. However, I stand by the integrity of the process that we followed, the seriousness with which we approached it, and the good faith judgment that this appointment serves the best interests of our city at this time. Lastly, let me state that council remains committed to providing equal opportunities for everyone in our city, including underrepresented residents, to serve on our various boards, commissions, and committees. And before making any appointments, always take that into consideration.
Anybody else? Councilor Posh.
Thank you, Vice President Larson. I have a little bit of a lengthy statement too. This is an important appointment, and I want everybody to really understand, my perspective of it, just like I believe my peers will shortly do after me. First, I would like to thank every resident who stepped forward and applied for this appointment. Putting your name forward for public service takes courage and commitment. We had a number of applicants who clearly care deeply about Cleveland Heights, and I'm grateful for each of them. The fact so many residents are willing to serve speaks well of our community. This appointment process has not been easy. We serve one of the most racially, culturally, and economically diverse communities in the region. I believe strongly that our council should strive to reflect diversity. Representation matters, lived experiences matter. And as a white male member of this body, I'm mindful that our current council composition does not fully reflect the makeup of our city. As I say this, I'm respecting the choice of our voters. After all, it's our voters who actually chose us. At the same time, our responsibility is to carefully evaluate the applicant pool before us and appoint the person best prepared to step into this role immediately and effectively. After reviewing the applications, interviewing candidates, and considering the qualifications required to serve, I believe Sarah is an outstanding choice. Sarah brings strong professional experience, sound judgment, a clear understanding of municipal governance, and a demonstrated commitment to our community. She has a temperament, integrity, and work ethic necessary to contribute meaningfully from day one. I am confident she will serve all residents thoughtfully and reasonably. I also want to acknowledge something openly. I would welcome greater racial diversity on this council. I hope and I'll work to encourage more residents of color to seek office and apply for future appointments. Our city benefits when more voices are at the table, and expanding that participation must remain a priority for us. However, this decision must be based on the candidates who applied for this position at this time. Among that group, Sarah is exceptionally well qualified, and I believe appointing her serves the best interests of Cleveland Heights right now. I look forward to supporting her and continuing the broader work of encouraging our council, what our council reflects, respects, and represents the full diversity of our city. I'm thankful for our council leadership for extending the application process to increase the candidate pool. I also need to say our city government is in a period of recovery. I'm optimistic our days of dysfunction are behind us. We need a unified council that can work quickly with our administration. Sarah is very well matched to meet this immediate need. That's all I have.
Thank you. Want to go?
I'm happy to go. I'm pleased to support the appointment of Sarah Stone to this vacant seat on Cleveland Heights City Council for the 2-year term. Cleveland Heights is a city that has long defined itself by diversity of race, background, faith, thought, and experience. And this is not just something we talk about, it's something our residents expect to see reflected in their government. I take that expectation seriously, and I know many people in our community do as well. At the same time, like some of my colleagues have mentioned, each appointment is a specific decision about a specific seat at a specific moment in time. And our responsibility in this process was to follow the law, apply the candidacy requirements fairly, and select the person who's both eligible and best prepared to step into this role immediately, particularly now at a time of reflection and rebuilding. After reviewing the applications and meeting with the candidates, I believe Sarah brings the experience, temperament, and collaborative approach that this council needs right now. Sarah has spent decades in senior leadership roles in nonprofit and higher education institutions. She has managed large budgets. She has led complex collaborations. She has worked with boards and community stakeholders to move important projects forward. She has deep experience in governance, consensus building, and implementation, skills that are not only essential for effective council service, but skills that we need at this critical moment. She's also been an engaged Cleveland Heights resident for the past decade, taking on leadership roles in her faith community and participating in community initiatives. She speaks about our city, as she did in her interview, with a real appreciation for its diversity, historic character, promise. And she's expressed a genuine commitment to fairness, opportunity, and the long-term vitality of our neighborhoods. This was not an easy decision, and I want to thank my fellow council members for the openness, collegiality, and the civility with which we had it. It means a lot to me as I contemplate how governing is happening in other forms and levels of government. I want to thank every applicant who stepped forward to serve. That itself is not an easy decision. I will say that for myself, participating in this process from this side of the table, as opposed to applying twice, as I have done, makes it clear to me that if we want a council that reflects the full diversity of Cleveland Heights, we must be intentional about encouraging more candidates from all backgrounds to step forward, and not only to run in future elections, which is critical, but to serve on our boards and committees to fully understand how this city runs, what this city needs, and how they can serve in greater capacities. I look forward, and the other thing, we have to raise council salaries. We have to reach out to residents, and we have to share what it means to serve on council. As I can tell you from 6 weeks on the job, this is a very time-intensive role. I want to reach out to residents to share what it means to serve on council and direct residents to training and opportunities to learn more about the process. Even running can be intimidating. This is work that I'm committed to being part of, and I look forward to partnering with community members to help build that pipeline of future leaders for our city. In closing, I believe Sarah is a strong, very strong fit for this role. She will be a thoughtful, prepared, and collaborative member of this body, and with that, I support her appointment.
Thank you, Vice President. I want to thank all of the residents who applied to fill this vacant council position. Public service is important work. It's meaningful work, and it demands a lot from individuals. So I commend everyone who stepped forward to contribute their talents to try to make Cleveland Heights a better place. We had a number of talented applicants, including Ms. Stone, whose education, experience, and community involvement are undeniably impressive. I have no doubt Ms. Stone would serve the community faithfully and would be a good partner to the 6 of us. However, I believe the fundamental task before council in this moment is to appoint someone who most fully strengthens council as a whole, who supplements our individual strengths, and who complements areas where we may lack. Diversity matters. It is a strength. Representation matters. In this context, I believe council should seek to broaden the diversity of perspectives and lived experiences so that council may be able to more fully represent all of Cleveland Heights. Because of this and my belief that expanding the process with intentional inclusivity would broaden and strengthen the candidate pool, I will be voting no on this appointment tonight.
President Kuda.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I too would like to thank all the applicants. Once again, I'm just so impressed with the talent in our city. I appreciate people willingness to step forward. Regarding the process, I am confident that all council members entered into this process with an open mind, and that's all a council president can ask, that we considered all the applicants and gave them all a fair shake. I want to also thank my colleagues. There was a lot of deliberation by council members and a lot of deep discussion, and I really appreciate that. I thought it was very thorough. Sarah Stone distinguished herself with her application, her resume, her detailed answers to questions, the amount of homework that she did to prepare for her interview, and her grasp of the job and the issues that we face. And she really did distinguish herself as an exceptional applicant, and I am delighted to welcome Sarah Stone to City Council. I will be supporting her.
Thank you, President Kuda. When you are appointed to council or elected, you take an oath that states, so long as I continue to hold the position as council member, I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially discharge the duties of that office to the best of my ability. This is what we as council members promise to the residents of this city. These words are particularly important when council must fill a vacancy, which we've done how many times now? This is the fourth one? Yeah, since the beginning of 2022. We honestly considered every one of these wonderful applicants. For me, preparation is absolutely essential to be able to do this job in a manner that reflects our commitment to serve the residents of this entire city. Sarah Stone thoroughly prepared for her interview. She watched our meetings. She became current on the issues in front of us about housing initiatives. She mentioned infill housing, short-term rental legislation, and severance housing. As she will chair the Housing and Building Committee, her familiarity with topics the committee will discuss was very important. On her application, she stated, and I'll quote, 10 years ago, I knew I wanted to live in the Heights because of the side-by-side diversity within our neighborhoods, while seeing how much needs to be done to deliver on that promise, unquote. Work to be done. During her career, Sarah has led opinion gathering polls, focus groups, town hall meetings, and detailed negotiations in service of a solution. She's ready to lead meetings. She has worked with large budgets and is committed to doing the reading and preparation to make the best decisions for the city's residents. There is that word again, preparation. She is a leader at the church in the work of her church in the work of supporting immigrants and refugees, and an active volunteer in supporting the church's work on social justice and community initiatives. This volunteer work extends to participating in the Greater Cleveland Congregation's initiatives to inventory properties vacated by absentee landlords, and an initiative to reduce juvenile bindovers in Cuyahoga County courts. Sarah's committed to fairness, equity, and opportunity. She is the best candidate to take the oath that includes a statement, again, I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially discharge the duties of that office to the best of my ability. All of us having a chance to speak, Clerk Ballister, please call for a roll call vote.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
DeWitt Foy.
No.
Posh.
Yes.
Kuda.
Aye.
Cohen.
Aye.
Motion passes. Clerk Ballister, will you please let Sarah know that what's happened this evening and
Absolutely.
the onboarding process, which you do so well, all right? Because you've had
Done it enough times.
once again, frequency. All right. The next item on the agenda is public comment general. How many do we have who wish to speak this evening?
We have 9.
All right, so persons wishing to speak must register in advance, which I'm assuming you've done. A 3-minute time limit applies. 3 minutes if there are more than, we don't have more than 15 speakers tonight, so you will each have 3 minutes. Council President reserves the right to reduce the time limit based on the volume of business on the agenda. Please make sure when you step up to the podium that you state your name and your street and or neighborhood. So who do we have first?
James Williams.
Good evening, Council. If I may ask if I can have 2 minutes extra for my statements.
I'm sorry, it's got to be 3, James. Can you consolidate it for me, please?
I'll try.
In all fairness to everybody else, right? Yeah. In all fairness to everyone else.
Fairness. Yes. So I am going to say my first speech is, I am somebody. I may not look like somebody, but I am somebody. Nobody but nobody is nobody to anybody. Everybody is somebody to somebody. I may have nappy hair, but I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I am somebody. And my next one is, if you believe within your heart, you'll know that no one can change the path that you must go. Believe what you feel and know you're right, because the time will come around when you'll say it's mine. Believe that you can go home. Believe that I can float on air. Click your heels 3 times. If you believe, then you will be there. Believe in yourself right from the start. Believe in the magic right there in your heart. Believe all these things, not because I told you to, but believe in yourself. Woo! Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself as I believe in me. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, James.
Jason Smith.
Thank you to the council, to the mayor and the mayor's office. My name is Jason Smith. I live at 3500 Nordway Road. That's the Cedar Taylor area. And my question is, I'd like to know which department and or individual I should work with in terms of getting an understanding of how the process of how an ordinance is set up, the process for how an ordinance is removed, and the ability of a resident to be able to submit a letter of opposition to a ordinance to be added to the file. And specifically, specifically concerned with Ordinance 75-2022, which deals with prohibitions on conversion therapy. Thank you.
Might you answer that, Director Hannah?
Well, probably the law department is the place to have that conversation, I think. So that number is, or we can get your information and reach out, but it's 291-4314.
Okay, that was good. I was at the law department today. That's with Sarah Garbo?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
John Gall?
Hi, everybody. My name's John Gall. If any of you up there don't know who I am, you should. For the rest of you, I live at 3444 Fairmount Boulevard. That's the house on Fairmount that's been hit multiple times by cars traveling south on Taylor Road that don't stop. In December, it was announced here that you guys are doing some kind of a project at that intersection, right? I would like some clarification on that, if you would. Why? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? In other words, are you doing this project for any reason other than the fact that my house has been hit multiple times by cars? Any other reason? So I can assume it's safe to say that you are doing this project because my house has been hit, right? Is that a fair statement? Anybody? Okay, well, in service to that, I guess you guys hired GPD Associates, an engineering firm, to look into whatever it is they were going to be doing there. I went to the meeting that GPD held to release their report, and I have to say I was underwhelmed. They came up with ideas like you need better lighting and better signage, and that speed bump that you put in, that's terrific. Well, it's already been taken away because it was obviously stupid. But better lighting and better signage is every intersection in the world. How is that specific to this one? The one thing I wanted to know was, how are you going to stop a car going 85 miles an hour from impacting my house? That's happened 3 times. I expected to hear some type of anything that would do that. They said, well, we recommend leaving the boulders that are currently on your front lawn in place. And that was it. I was like, well, wait a minute, you know. What happened to building a barrier on the lawn in front of my house? You know, Occam's razor, the obvious solution is usually the best one. And they said, well, we can't because ODOT regulations prohibit us from putting anything on the tree lawn in front of my house. And I wasn't prepared for that. So it kind of threw me for a loop. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. There had been a guardrail in place on that tree lawn for, I don't know, my house was built in 1947. I assume that was, put up shortly thereafter. So easily 50 years there was a guardrail there, but suddenly now it's against ODOT regulations to replace it? That can't be right. So I called ODOT the next day and ended up speaking with, I believe her name is Christine Rosa. She's the director of District 12. And I was prepared to lobby. You know, if this is the regulation, surely you guys can make exceptions in situations that call for it, right? And imagine, she told me that, well, there is no regulation. Fairmount Boulevard is not a state route. It's not in our jurisdiction. The city can do whatever they want to do.
Mr. Gall?
My question to you guys is, who hired GPD Associates? What were they instructed to do? And did whoever hired them specifically tell them that ODOT regulations prohibit something from being done on to protect my home.
Mr. Gall, your time has expired, please.
Well, the mayor pulled me out of the meeting 2 weeks ago beforehand to say, let me have a talk. We'll
Mr.
talk
Gall, your time has
tomorrow. So I didn't
expired.
get my 3 minutes last week. All right, well, just tell me, who hired GPD? What were they told? And did they, were they instructed that this
Let us give Mayor
regulation?
Let us give Mayor Petrus an opportunity to respond.
He had an opportunity. He had 2 weeks. I talked.
And we sat down at City Hall,
I tried to
John.
contact
We
her
sat
later.
down.
I spoke to his assistant.
Yes. So,
I yelled at her.
Councilwoman.
In 20 years, you
Mayor
have never
Petrus.
answered a single one of my questions.
Mr. Gall,
about this
please,
pro-
we listened to you. Would you like to listen to the mayor before you leave,
No,
please?
you can call me tomorrow. I'm done. But find out, please.
Mayor Petrus,
GPD.
Mayor Petrus.
Thank you. I appreciate it. As people know, I'm the new guy at City Hall. I am listening and learning and try to understand the reason for some of the things that we've done. 2 weeks ago, before the start of the council meeting, I spoke with Mr. Gall, and as many residents know, he has long wanted a guardrail. I offered him a guardrail, and he is not interested in that at this time. We sat down here at City Hall and he expressed an interest in having an engineering firm hired to design a different solution to stop a car. And I agreed that we would do that. And so I told him that I would work with the law department so that we can engage an engineer to design that and build that. And so I understand that things, may be frustrating, that they're not happening overnight, but unfortunately, I don't have daily updates for Mr. Gall. And I think that, like I said, we are going to follow through on what I offered him, that we would hire an engineer to design that specific solution.
Thank you, Mayor. Next.
Akshay Singh.
Tough one to follow. My name is Akshay Singh. Live on Euclid Heights Boulevard. Want to thank council and the mayor's office, city staff for taking the time to meet this afternoon to both get some clarification on where there can be some progress on getting legal representation and support to people who are in need of it and in fear in our community. My public comment is primarily directed around the question of how we can consider public funding, and that being a worthwhile initiative to make sure we can do. Right now, the city currently has a contract with Flock Safety, which is a surveillance company that has been well documented as passing on what it reads, license plate information, but not limited to that necessarily with their technology as they try to do upgrades for it, but they pass that information to federal agencies, including border control and immigration. As my understanding is that is tens of thousands of dollars of public funds that is given to a company that Ring just very, very publicly canceled its operations with and partnerships with due to the scrutiny it's been receiving, especially related to not necessarily malfeasance, but a very poor record of security that has been documented through on communities nationwide. Folks in Shaker have been bringing attention to this. There's a very informative meeting. There was a Shaker resident who had been a former employee of the USGAO, Government Accountability Office, who's done some very solid research, and looking forward to presenting some of that as possible to city and city council as they're interested. I think it'd behoove this community to immediately seek to cancel that contract, and whether or not that this annual fee can be recovered for us to be reinvesting that in community safety immediately rather than what we're doing. Thank you.
Edgar Mitchell.
Good evening, Council. I'm Edgar Mitchell, address 1062 Leelerview, also 2025 Goodenough Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. I'm a United States citizen, also a resident and a citizen in Cleveland Heights. And the things I heard tonight, I really didn't come to really talk about all of that. But I want to thank council for allowing everyone to come and express their problems or whatever you want to call that we have to talk about. And I want to let council know, Mayor, good to see you, good to see all of you. Hope you're all in good health. And I'm glad that Jim Cooter and my other council members showed up, because I looked up, I didn't see them, and it kind of bothered me. Where are they? I didn't hope they wasn't sick or missing. Okay, the problem that I have with the tree that caused all the damage on 1062 Leelerview, they did remove the tree. So I'm here to say that the tree is down. So ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. So, but anyway, we'll get the rest of that done as soon as possible. Tonight, I really had a heavy heart, because I don't really know what's going on with, happening with appointing a new council. I go along with what, because council, you guys have much more knowledge than I do, and you know who you're bringing in to be the council member. But me being as old as I am and being born back in the time when we had a lot of problems dealing with racial identities and dealing with a lot of stuff. So me, I've never been a person that judged a person on whether they were black, white, red, yellow, or green. Your works will speak for itself, regardless of who you are. But I would like to look at the council and see someone that looked like me. And it bothers me that I don't see that. Not saying that someone that doesn't look like me wouldn't treat me as well as I could be mistreated by someone that looks like me. So I've lived long enough to know that the color of your skin doesn't make you who you are. It's what's in your heart and your mind. But if you're not like me and didn't come along as I did over the years, there's some things that I would never be able to feel if I look like you. I could not feel, to put it bluntly, what a white person can feel, because they didn't grow up like me, they're not me. I can only feel what a black person like me would feel. So therefore, I'm not judging this on color, but I'm saying that the experiences that you get in life molds you, and that whether they're good or bad. So I would like to look at someone up there that looks more like me. I'm not being a racist. I'm not like that. But life is real. If you buy a certain car, you get a Cadillac that's different from a Ford. But they take you the same place, but they're different. See what I'm saying? So thank you for allowing me to speak and allowing everyone the opportunity in Cleveland Heights to voice their opinion. Whatever, come on, I hope Ms. Stone, if she's going to be the new council member, I hope that she is as good as you guys are, and that she, does the job for the citizens of Cleveland Heights. Okay, that's all I got to say this evening. I'll see you guys next council meeting, and I thank you for allowing me to express my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Anastasia Krylyuk.
I live in Cleveland Heights, Coventry. My name is Anastasia Krylyuk. I live in Cleveland Heights on Coventry Road. I've spoken here once before, and I'm speaking on the same issue, which is the immigration issue. As an immigrant myself, I was born in Ukraine, came here when I was 10 years old. It's been very scary to see the treatment of some immigrants and some US citizens by ICE, and I want to feel safe in the city, and I want council members and the mayor to do whatever is in your power to protect people like me and all the other immigrants in this community. I want you guys to support the 8-point pro-immigrant proposal developed by Cleveland Heights for immigrant rights, and I want the city to propose legislation to Cleveland Heights City Council for the city to fund legal representation and legal clinics for immigrants who are in deportation proceedings or who are undocumented. That could make a huge difference and save their lives and keep their families together. And it means a lot for me, and I know it means for a lot of other people who can't be here to speak on their behalf. Thank you.
John Mark Wisniewski.
Hi, my name is John Mark. I live on 1643 Coventry Road, and I'm here today to urge you all to show your support for the 8-point pro-immigrant proposal developed by Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. And I want to urge the city council members to propose legislation to Cleveland Heights City Council for the city to fund legal representation and legal clinics for immigrants who are in deportation proceedings or who are undocumented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Svetlana Zoikonol-Rayeva. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Hello, my name is Svetlana Zakondraeva. I'm resident Cleveland Heights, living on Coventry Road. I'm also immigrant from Ukraine, and it has been scary recently seeing the treatment of fellow immigrants by ICE. I urge the city of Cleveland Heights to do whatever they can to protect immigrants like me.
Thank you.
Natalie Davis.
Good evening. I'm Natalie Davis. I live on Rexwood Road. I want to thank Councilwoman Cohen and Mayor Petras for taking the time to meet with members of Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights today. I think we had a pretty productive conversation, and I would especially like to extend my gratitude to the staff members from City Hall that were also present, hearing directly from our law director, from our new city administrator, from Josie Moore, as well as Jessica Shantz, was really helpful. I appreciate they stayed late to continue the discussion on how we can continue to work together to protect immigrants in Cleveland Heights. I think we're all horrified by the things that are happening in this country. I think everyone here has made that quite clear. But responding to that, the fight requires everyone. It requires the private sector, the public sector, nonprofits, and here in Cleveland Heights, people are showing up. We had over 280 residents or community members show up to our ICE defense training on Sunday. Local businesses have pledged to protect their immigrant workers and patrons. And obviously, it goes without saying that nonprofits and pro bono attorneys are really on the front lines and putting in overtime and are way over capacity to protect immigrant rights. The big question mark continues to be what our government will do and what the contribution will be. It goes without saying, again, that we can't look to the federal government on this one. And I think we know that we also cannot look to the state government. And so we are looking to you. We invite you as the government of as the government of the city of Cleveland Heights to join our fight because we need you. Thank you.
That's all I've got.
Thank you, Clerk Ballister. Now's the time for council comments. Excuse me. Anyone?
I have, but Councilman.
Go ahead, Joe.
Sure, thank you. I want to call attention to the Black History Month celebration event taking place this Saturday, February 21st from noon to 5. I'm excited for the event and hope to see many community members there. I want to thank Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights for taking the lead in organizing community support for our immigrant neighbors. I was unable to attend the ICE defense training this weekend, but I'm glad to hear the event was successful and that the community had access to resources like this. I want to thank Councilwoman Cohen for initiating the legislation opposing harmful bills currently in the State House. just to highlight one example of why these bills are dangerous. Previously, DHS limited when and where ICE would conduct immigration enforcement and excluded certain protected areas, including places of worship, schools, playgrounds, childcare, and healthcare facilities. The federal government no longer recognizes these protected facilities, and ICE has recently shown a pattern of specifically targeting these places. These Ohio bills would make it easier for ICE to go anywhere at any time, including sensitive areas like schools. It serves no public benefit for families to keep their children home from school because they are afraid of their own government. As a nurse and a former hospital worker, I know that terrible things can happen if people delay care because they are afraid. If you agree, please reach out to your state representatives and urge them to oppose Assembly Bills 26, 42, 281, and Senate Bill 172. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So notwithstanding stealing my thunder a little bit on the immigration legislation, so in the committee of the whole, for those who only watch this meeting and not committee of the whole, there was a consensus among council to submit to the law department a draft of legislation opposing the 4 bills that Councilman DeWitt Foy mentioned. We had some light comments on drafting recommendations, and I will convey that to the law department forthwith, and then we will figure out the process. The earliest that we would be able to pass that would be at our next council meeting, which is on March 3rd now. So that is in the works. Another piece of legislation that I wanted to mention that we discussed is my suggestion that we look at the Planning Commission's authority within the zoning code to not only review substantial changes to parks, but to approve or disapprove of substantial changes of parks. In my view, this is a loophole that we encountered last year with the project with Kane Park that didn't require any sort of proximate notice, a notice to proximate residents about such changes to the parks, nor an official public hearing as we do with conditional use permits. So I have drafted a starting place of legislation that I will submit to the law department for review and then for discussion. And then lastly, I want to thank Todd Walburn I want to remind residents that council members, especially me, don't check their council email all day long or on certain days of the week. There was a woman who contacted us about a heating issue in her apartment, and Todd took care of it. So if it is something urgent like that, please send your emails to the Mayor's Action Center for that to be handled. That's not something that we can handle in real time. And then, sorry, one more thing lastly on the immigration. As we mentioned, we are inviting some nonprofits to share at a future committee meeting about services that residents can access should they need it. And I also want to reiterate, I want to state clearly that I fundamentally disagree with the idea that public funds should be used for this purpose, but that's not a binary. That doesn't mean that I'm incredibly passionate about this and I don't believe in supporting our immigrants. In fact, it's just the opposite. And so I want to say that while I differ in the approach, I'm going to do everything in my power, my purview, and to leverage the connections and the knowledge that I have to help to meet these objectives. But I do think that it's time for us to move on from a city funding perspective and to start talking about how we can partner to explore other opportunities to fulfill the objectives of this group's, of Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights, what they would like to see. So I thank you for that.
All right. Councilor Cobb? All right. This evening at the Committee of the Whole, the Cleveland International Film Festival presented some exciting news to us. The festival is celebrating 50 years of the festival by returning to its birthplace. Cleveland Heights' very own Cedar Lee Theater is one of the venues for these films to be shown. Council was honored tonight to hear a presentation from Festival Executive Director Hermione Malone and Board Chair Joe Marinucci describing the multiple day and night programming and impact that this return to Cedar Lee will have on the Cleveland Heights, particularly the Cedar Lee business area. The administration will be collaborating with the festival staff to promote the festival in the coming weeks. So look for dates and when tickets go on sale and what's going to be shown at Cedar Lee. And we hope that you'll all support this big event. That being said, President Kuda, it's your responsibility to present the president's report.
So I'm going to do that. Thank you. I want to recognize Jesse Jackson's 84 years today. He was born in 1941, and just thinking of all the things that have changed and all the things that he did to create that change. A really exceptional man living an exceptional life. And I want to tell you how he touched my life. And in 1984, when he was running for president, he was at the Front Row Theater, which has since been demolished. And my mom wanted to go, and we went together, and we didn't usually do stuff like that together. And we listened to Reverend Jackson speaking. He even had us all hold hands at one point. And the energy in the room and the closeness and the way he brought people together was just wonderful. Sometime in my 20s, I marched with him on some union issue. I don't remember the issue, but I remember marching with him down one of the main streets in Cleveland, probably Euclid Avenue. I also want to recognize his extraordinary kindness to my wife. She was flying on a plane. He was, I believe, up in first class. She had the flight attendant send him a note. He asked to meet her. She came up and told him what he meant to her, and he held her hand while they talked. And that meant so much to my wife, Sandy. And she often tells the story to people with tears in her eyes. And I was just also so grateful for Reverend Jackson, the way he redefined how primary elections are conducted, that he accomplished in the 80s, no more backroom deals, that you had to get a certain number of delegates and so forth. And that was all part of Reverend Jackson's reform of that process. And, he always stood up. He made us think. He made us rethink. Went to all parts of the country to fight for people. And I just also want to say I'll never forget when President Obama was elected and the camera panned to him and there were just tears running down his cheeks. That black man had been elected president in the United States of America. So just thank you, Reverend Jackson, for all the great moments and your contribution to the civil rights movement. And I'll turn it back over to you, Vice President Larson.
Thank you, President Kuda. That was really important to hear this evening. And that being said, this is all that we have for the meeting. This meeting is adjourned at 8:52.